What's going on, folks? My name is Nelson. Everyone calls me Nels. I'm 24 years old. I am a presenter, producer, freelancer, and I currently work in the UK radio industry. And today I wanted to do a video for you guys as a part of the SRA's Black Voices Matter series to talk about some of the issues I've faced in the workplace as a young black man and how I overcame them. Let me start before I get into it. I want to start by saying thank you to all of the people that are going to do videos for us, all the black creatives that are going to join in and do videos for us. Thank you so much. Hopefully by sharing your story, the industry we work in becomes a little bit more tolerant and helps us all, learn how to love and respect one another and move forward as, a collective industry. So growing up, I was always into the radio, but I didn't really consider it as a career until I remember being 14 years old, and my older sister took me to a careers expo in the Excel Centre in London. And I remember going to this careers expo, and at the time I wanted to be a journalist, so there was a BBC stand, and I went thinking it was, BBC journalism, but it actually turned out to be BBC audio, and I was like, great. I met a young kid there that went by the name of Jan Mystery, who's a fantastic audio producer who works in London. Now he does great things. And he told me about a place called the Roundhouse and how they do things called radio drop-ins, and they teach young people how to become better DJs and producers and presenters, and he told me to come along. So I decided to come along, and the rest was history. Like, I fell in love with that place. I spent way too much of my teenage years there. I ended up realizing very quickly that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and that I was going to do whatever it took to make a career out of this. And I started doing my first show for them. It was called The Full Nelson. It was a rock and heavy metal show, and that because of some of the challenges that I faced, which I'm going to go into, I ended up changing my show into something called Master of None, which I still do today. And that's a show all about bringing diverse musicians to the forefront, like musicians that you wouldn't normally expect to do that type of music, whether that be female DJs in Australia or black rock bands in the US. I want to talk about them doing their thing and make it relevant and just give them a platform to shine, really. So when I was doing the Full Nelson and growing up in London, being a young black man into rock music, I often got asked if I was really into rock music, and I often got told that I was less of a black person because I was into rock music and I was into things that society told us that young black boys shouldn't be into. And I'm not gonna lie, this did have a big effect on me. It made me feel as if it made me question my own blackness, and question if these people were right, if I was less of a black man for listening to rock music. But now I know, growing older, that first and foremost, variety is the spice of life. And me being into rock music as a black man has nothing to do with my race. And in fact, it helps me become, more of an asset to people, more of an asset to this industry, by being someone that's from a different background into a style of music that people wouldn't normally put them down for. And as well as that, along my journey, I've discovered some incredible role models who have made me feel like they're carving a path for people like me to carve a path for other people. One of them being Sophie K, who is a radio presenter, and just seeing what Sophie does and hearing about it all has been so helpful to my journey, and it's helped me believe in myself because I've seen someone doing the things that I never thought were possible for black broadcasters in the UK. So moving on, there was a couple of other stories that I wanted to talk about today. One of them being what it's like going into the workplace as a young black man. And I think the best way for me to explain this would be to talk about a very traumatic experience I had in 2018 before I worked in the UK radio industry. I graduated university and I got a job within the student movement, and I very quickly realized that it wasn't going to be the place for me, and I realized that because of the sheer amount of racial profiling and just racial microaggressions that took place within the workplace. And honestly, it was definitely the hardest time in my life, both mentally and, from a career point of view. It made me feel like I was no closer to achieving my goals in radio. It made me feel like I wasn't valued in the workplace as a young black man, being profiled, and just the constant microaggressions. I felt like I felt kind of trapped, like I had nowhere to go, and I didn't really have many people that were going to look out for me. I felt kind of powerless, to be honest with you, and I ended up leaving that organization very quickly, and it took a while for me to get myself back on the wagon and get into radio. And I remember the first day that I ever went to work in radio after this had happened, after I had been through that traumatic experience. I couldn't believe how lucky I was, because I remember that first day so clearly being such a good day. I had great people helping me and showing me around and believing in me, that, it gave me a little bit more hope in the workplace to do things the right way and to, support young black creatives. I will say though that it didn't leave me without scars, to be honest with you, that first workplace, because now going into the workplace regardless, and I've loved everything I've ever done since. I've been lucky enough to work with companies like BBC Radio 2, Absolute, so on and so forth, and they've all been incredibly good to me. But I've always felt, because of my previous experience in the workplace, I've had to mentally prepare myself to step into work, and I didn't think, who knew that something like that was going to affect me for so much longer, being like 2.5 years down the line now. But I'm slowly like moving past that past trauma and learning to accept and believe in myself and just know that I'm good at what I do, and like everything will work out as it's meant to, and I shouldn't put so much pressure on myself. So overcoming it is still like a journey and a process. It's not something that I'd say I'm finished with doing, but it is definitely something that has spurred me forward to push myself and prove to myself and to the people around me that I'm good at what I do, and given the opportunity, I can be just as good as anybody else. So the last question is what I hope changes for young black people in the workplace going forward. And I think the main thing I would like to see is them having not only role models that represent them and make them feel as if they have a place in this industry. I want them to feel like it's easy. Like, I want them to be able to find mentors and people that they can talk to for career advice, because that's something I've found hard in the world of radio, is finding people like me that can help me improve, and people that have had similar journeys to mine. So that's something I've proactively been trying to do to help other people. Like, there's a couple of young black presenters and producers who I think are doing amazing things, and they're going to go so far. Alex Charles being one of them. you know, seeing people like him mature and grow is something that fills me with so much joy. So I really hope that the workplace becomes more of a tolerant place in the UK for young black people. And I hope that whilst everything that's gone on over the past few months has been great for conducing conversations about this, I really hope that because our society becomes so much more tolerant, that nothing like that ever has to happen again, and we can talk about these things freely. So yeah, that was my story. That's all I've really got to say. If you want to hear any more, or you want to talk to me about anything, whether that be radio related, feel free to drop me a DM on Twitter. My handle is at Nels Hylton with a Y and an I. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing all the other young creatives share their stories about what they do, and just letting young black creators' voices be heard even more. Thank you very much for listening. Black Voices Matter. Take care.